Greetings everyone, Sean Ruggiero. I'm going to walk you through the benefits of an IUL for someone who is 18 to say 45. Stark contrast from someone who is say over 50 when we sell an IUL. So even though it's the same product, the benefits and what we can sell are different. So this is for your younger person, right? When someone is 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, these are the advantages that we can talk about and discuss and market to the clients. So what are our retirement challenges? If you're 20 years old, 30 years old, and you had to think about retirement, what are you thinking about? Well, you're going to think about potentially dying too early. It's a sad thing, it's a tragic thing. It doesn't happen to a lot of people, but it definitely happens. You're also going to be thinking about the lack of pension plans, right? Even defined contribution plans, 401ks, there's far fewer of them available than there used to be. Loss of spousal income, so which one of you dies first? How do you plan for that in the future? And then healthcare costs. You're not too worried about it when we're 20, 30, 40 years old, but we know that when we get to be 60, 70, 80 years old in retirement, that the healthcare costs can be something that are going to be challenging, so we need to prepare for that. So you have one product, I call it the Swiss Army knife of financial tools. It's going to solve all these things with one product. It's the Index Universal Life. All right, so let's talk about these challenges a little bit more. I'll use the proverbial Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the clients, let's say they're 35 years old. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the first question we need to ask them is, do you have enough protection? If we took a household that made $60,000 a year over the course of someone's lifetime, or a household making $60,000, they're going to have $3 million of earnings. Well, how much coverage do you have? According to LIMRA, only 54% of adults have any life insurance at all, much less $3 million worth of coverage, and 25% of that 54% is offered by their work. It's not even a policy that they own. So the United States of America is woefully uninsured. First and foremost, an IUL is an insurance product, so it's going to allow you to protect people's human capital, their ability to do, learn, and earn with a tax-free death benefit. That is Life Insurance 101, and an IUL qualifies. So if they're worried that I might die too early and it screws up my whole retirement plan, the life insurance will pay out tax-free to help offset that. I talked about the lack of pensions, the lack of 401ks. Let's look at this, and this graphic's a little old. It's actually declined even steeper. But in 1983, there were 26,000 companies that had pension plans with more than 100 people in them. In 2015, that's declined to 8,700. In 2022, that number is in the triple digits. It has declined dramatically. What's the point? Point is there just aren't pension plans out there anymore. So individuals, especially today's individuals, that there's more self-employed, people that are doing additional work or work from home, independent contractor type stuff, they're going to need to find a way to retire. And an IUL is a great way to supplement that retirement and have some tax-free advantages, which we're going to talk about. Taxes. Here we go, right on cue. As of 2022, the U.S. national debt is over $30 trillion. It's a hard number to even fathom. Millions, we got that. Billions, that seems outrageous. Trillions. $30 trillion and growing. If we look at the debt as a percentage of gross domestic product, that's all the money that we bring in as a country, by 2026, it will be 134%. We can't sustain that. What is the one way they can solve that? Stop spending a lot of money, it's not going to happen, or raise taxes. Obviously, the latter of those two is what's going to happen. They're going to raise taxes. So where will we be? If we look at the marginal federal income tax rates, this isn't even counting state income tax rates, we are at a relatively low tax rate. Historically speaking, tax rates tend to spike during world wars like World War I and World War II, but then they have come down somewhat in recent years. Where will they be? I always like to look at other countries that are a lot older than us: France, Germany, the UK, Italy. Those countries have high starting tax rates. In fact, most of them have marginal tax rates that start at 45%. Here we have marginal tax rates that start at 10%? Is that going to be sustainable? Most likely it will not be. And by the time this person who might be 20, 30, or 40 years old, the person you're sitting down with across the kitchen table or across a Zoom call, by the time they go to retire, if they haven't prepared wisely, they could be hemorrhaging a lot of money for taxes. An IUL is going to pay out tax-free. And then the last one is long-term care, healthcare costs. I know it's the furthest thing from people's mind when they're 30 years old. They're not really thinking about what it's going to cost them late in life to go into a nursing home. But ask them, have you had a grandparent or parent who's gone through long-term care, who had a terminal or a critical illness? And we've gone through those lists of ailments. If it hits home, you have to ask them, do you want that to be what your children or grandchildren go through? See, you don't have to buy an additional product. By purchasing an IUL, all the things that I mentioned before, you can resolve, but you can also use this for something to take care of long-term care late in life, or alternative to long-term care. But the living benefit riders that are included in the IUL will help take care of that end-of-care healthcare costs, or end-of-life healthcare costs. And that's critically important because statistically speaking, most of us are going to need it. Longtermcare.gov reports that 70% of us from ages 65 on will need some form of long-term care. Women, they're a little tougher. They're going to need 3.7 years on average, men 2.2 years, and 20% of those people are going to need long-term care for more than 5 years. The IUL can help satisfy that issue. All right, let's talk about Kim and Dave. Kim and Dave, they're both 33 and healthy. They have a newborn son. They're concerned about future taxes, and they are independent contractors, so they don't have a 401k, and they certainly don't have a pension. We use, in this case, this is a North American product, but we used a product where they're setting aside $6,000, and they could do one on each person. That's $500 a month, folks. If you're participating in a company 401k or putting money aside into a pension, you're going to be putting at least $500 a month in, possibly even more. So let's use adult numbers. Let's talk about this not as a cost of insurance, but how we're going to supplement our future retirement. And so this one here, we could put one on each, but hypothetically speaking, if they put just $500 a month into this, notice that it does come with an immediate death benefit. In this case, I have it highlighted once they get to age 50. Let's say Dave dies at 50. If Dave had put money into a 401k, somewhere around $120,000, it might be worth a little more, might be worth a little less. But whatever's in that will then be paid out as a death benefit. But if Dave dies at 50, 51 with an IUL, because it is a life insurance product first, he gets a higher death benefit. This is close to $500,000, and it's tax-free. Whereas a 401k, traditionally speaking, would not be tax-free. They'd be on the hook for the taxes. But assuming that Dave does not die that early, his last year we're going to project is 65 years old. He no longer has to pay for this after 65 years old. Why are we structuring it that way? Well, we wanted this to be a supplemental retirement vehicle. If it was a supplemental retirement vehicle, it doesn't make much sense to have to pay the premium in retirement. So by age 65, he stops paying. It's a grand total of $216,000 that he's paid in. He then immediately turns around and starts taking out, get this, over $108,000 a year tax-free. Holy cow, if he's only 35 right now or 33 right now, go 3 decades. What are the marginal tax rates going to be for someone like that? And here he is, in the eyes of the IRS, making no money, zero money. In fact, his Social Security wouldn't even be affected by it. So he would not only take money from Social Security tax-free, but he would take this money tax-free and could have a pretty wonderful living, and considering that he's only one half of this puzzle because Kim is the other half. And hypothetically speaking, theoretically speaking, she's going to be doing the same thing. Now, at the time he starts taking out money, his death benefit has grown to over $1 million. He's going to continue to take these funds. And then let's say at age 90, Dave dies. Well, Dave would now have taken out $2.6 million tax-free, and he would still have $85,000 of cash value and about $336,000 of tax-free death benefit to pass on to Kim. So you can see how Kim, she gets the offset of income loss from him, and Dave gets the offset of income loss from her, depending on who dies earlier. And oh, by the way, they could use this money for cash emergencies, for going on vacations, making investments, donating to charity, and they could use the death benefit for long-term care costs. They wouldn't have to disrupt their cash flow in any way because they'd have the ability to access the death benefit if they wanted to, because these are indemnity products with North American, and offset that cost of end-of-life healthcare spending. So These are the benefits, pretty straightforward, plain and simple. When we talk about the benefits of an IUL for someone who is 18 to say 40, 45 years old. Hope this helps. Ask your clients, what's your retirement going to look like? And rehearse this a couple times, listen to it a couple times so you can smoothly go through it, because it's about the challenges and the benefits and how the IUL satisfies that. It's not about the illustrations. That's a technicality that we have to show when we legally want to make sure they understand the product, but understand the challenges and the benefits of the IUL, and you and the clients will be better off. Thank you.